Welcome to Sattvah project. Hello, Yumma Mudra. Thank
Hello,
you so much for having you here today in this very special day. And we really want to thank you for your time to give this opportunity and to have you with us for a small interview. And also, I would like to introduce you to our guests so they could know more about Yumma Mudra, one of our collaborators in the artists and writers panel. So here we go. Yumma Mudra, aka Miriam Tsapo, started dancing at the age of 3 in the United States. An early career in Paris, she was 14 years old, in the ballet russe Irina Gerbina as a solid dancer, followed by the studies in depth of body techniques, Qigong, Karate Shotokan, black belt, Hatha Yoga, women's dances. Later, she graduated in contemplative psychology and created intuitive Dharma study under the tutelage of Ringo Tulku Rinpoche. Producer of cultural festivals in Portugal for Roland Music, founder of the International Danza Duenda Network, and author of 2 books, she travels with Raji on the path of a methodology of breath, translucid dance. Raji and Mudra resumed the study of wisdom through dance by the term choreosophy. So, very welcome, Yumma Mudra.
Yes, very nice to see you, Sonia.
Very nice to see you. Beautiful as always. Eva, beautiful. So, Yumma, please, who is Yumma? Can you tell us a bit about you? Who is Yumma Mudra?
Yes, probably the whole practice is about understanding who is that person that I call myself. No, anyway, Yumma Mudra is a name that actually I adopted when I had some health problem. They got a little bit serious. For a few years, I had some health problems. And then they got really serious. And so I thought, as an intuition, I was in a retreat in Sikkim with Ringo Tulku Rinpoche. And I actually have that intuition. It would be interesting to use another name because whatever my activities are, it's a little bit public. I usually relate to a lot of people. And I thought maybe changing the name is something that could be beneficial. Also, it's true that my name Miriam, which is the
Miriam Tsapo
name, got very famous when I was 20 years old, and actually even nowadays they call an advertisement in French. They call it the Miriam syndrome or the Miriam, and so I like the name, but I had it's like an intuition. I don't know if it was right or not, but anyway, I did, and it did work out okay, because actually my life did get another kind of energy, because I think name is energy. Yumma is like I thought of Yum in Tibetan, which means the feminine pole, like Yab Yum, but it's usually used either for deities to represent, like you would say, yin and yang, the yin part in Tibetan, and also for the Prajnaparamita, it's Yumo, it's the Great Mother. And so I thought, well, maybe I need a name that is Yum, but a little bit different, because I'm an artist, so I have to have a different name, and it's not, I'm not Yumo, I'm not the Prajnaparamita. I'm not somebody's Yum, the partner, so Yumma. And so I really invented it somehow with 2 M's.
Yeah.
And then Mudra was a name that I already received from Lama Kuzang Chuki Doji. And he used to call me Mudra. So actually I just put them together, and then I talked with Ringo Tulku Rinpoche, and he said, why not,
Why not?
Okay. So why not? So I just went ahead with Yumma Mudra. So it's my name since that time. It's a time when I decided to go a little bit backwards in my activity, to take a little bit more time for myself, to take a little bit more secret time for myself. And then it also was the beginning of writing books which I already had writings, but it started to interest people. The things that I write started to interest people. So I usually write under the name Yumma Mudra.
Very nice. And how about the Miriam? The Miriam, the famous French model. Can you tell us a bit more about Miriam, the French model too?
Yeah, okay. Anyway, maybe, yes, before I tell you a little bit about that, that's French people only talk about that when they talk to me, but usually when they're not, nobody knows. We forgot about it. But
I know. I've been seeing your beautiful photos from your 20. Yeah, I know. It's very inspiring. That's why I'm asking.
Yes. Before I tell you that, I tell you about names.
Okay. Yes.
Because I actually read a lot of stories, namtavs of great masters in Tibet and India, and it's very usual in Buddhism to have a lot of names,
Yes.
And probably in other traditions too, but I know that in this tradition it's usual. And actually that happened to me. So when I was a little girl, I didn't know my name was Miriam, and it's actually the only first name I have. I don't have several first names. They used to call me Menu.
Menu.
I thought my name was Minu. In French, it's Minu. Later, I found out my name was Miriam, and then I received name when I was a dancer. Then I received, and so I really changed name a lot of times. So I'm a little bit used to it. Yeah. People think it's not normal, but for me, it's a usual thing to do. About that time when I was a model, I was 19 years old. At that time, I discovered the Buddha Dharma. It's really at the same time. Let me switch away the phone. I forgot. Excuse me. It doesn't
no problem.
make any noise. Please don't.
No problem.
I hope not. And when I left home, I was 14 years old, and so I saw a lot of difficult things. Since I was a young child, I saw people being in very deep depression, alcohol, beating each other since I was very small. And so for me, life was something, at the same time, there was something wonderful that was inside of my own mind that was okay. Something was okay. And something was really not okay. So it was a little bit strange. And when I read Trungpa Rinpoche, I was 16 years old the first time. It was really like, in Paris, they have this bunch of books they used to have. Now people don't want books anymore. But at that time, there was a bunch of books. You could buy the books for 1 franc, which is nothing. And
not easy nowadays.
Excuse me?
Not easy in our days to find books for 1 franc.
Well, usually nowadays, old books like that, they just put them in the garbage, actually, because people don't want the books anymore. Yeah.
So unfortunately, saying about the book from Shogyen Trungpa Rinpoche, right?
Yes. So there was a lot of books, and one book was from Shogyen Trungpa Rinpoche, and it was the first one, and I was like 15, 16 years old. And that book was cutting through spiritual. And that was a time of my life where I left home very early. So I already had a lot of experience of different kind of styles of living. Dancer, living as a person that lives in the street, and then getting out of drugs on my own, and then discovering the Buddhism with that book. And when I saw the book, I started to read it, and it was very funny because it was like you recognize the picture of your mother that you didn't see for 50 years. You say, "Oh, this is my mother." So I saw the book. I said, "This is it. This is it.
This is it."
Yeah, no, very clear. Yeah, and it was always it, because I read the book a lot of times, and then the others too, and it always fits. It always, you read it again and again, and each time I read it, each time it's like the first time I'm reading it, not because I forgot, but because I didn't understand something, then I'm understanding it, because life goes on and it makes sense. It's the book talks about your true experience. And so at that time, I took refuge and I needed money. And so I was a model to get money, only for that, actually. Yeah, and I became famous because I made an advertisement which is an advertisement for space. Actually, it's not for a product, and it's for space. And it was a concept that didn't exist at that time. That it's like a striptease. Always in bathing suit, and then she takes something off, and they tell you next time she's going to take something off. And actually, they wanted to prove that they could in 4 days make her naked. And in the whole of France at the right time. And so people started to gather in front of that poster. It was 6 meters for, I don't know, 6 meters for 5, something very big.
Wow.
And then the people would gather there to see what's happening next. And as it was not for the product, it was for the advertisement itself. So it was for the space where my picture was stick.
Yes.
So the people, it became very famous, even in Japan at that time, 81. 1981, it wasn't everywhere.
81.
Everywhere. I was like very famous from one day to the other because they called the advertisement Miriam, because they didn't know what the advertisement was for. So they actually called it advertisement Miriam. And I became very, very famous. And after a year of what to do with that, because people run after you.
Yeah.
I understood they were running after me, and understood I'm an artist. You know, when you're an artist, it's good. They run after you. What you're going to do this and that. You're famous. But I had the feeling it was not the good moment for me. And that people were, I was only 19, 20. And people were very motivated about things that were not my priority.
Yeah.
And so I really quit it. I went from one day to the other in the mountain in a retreat, completely alone, with just a suitcase. I didn't even have things with me. And so people wondered what happened to me. They wrote lots of lies about it, because they do write a lot of lies, They lie a lot. And then later, I just felt people were a little bit angry at me, because, like you saw what Cat Stevens did, Cat Stevens, he was very famous, no?
Yes.
He had a great career, and then he became religious, and he dedicated himself, and actually he looks very happy.
Yes.
He looks okay, no? But people get angry at him because at some point he decided, I'm not doing the thing you want me to. And I did, well, I was not Cat Stevens, but I did that same thing. And people had that same reaction, that woman is not normal. What is she doing? She's ruining her opportunity. And I'm very happy I did, Yeah.
Yes. But why you decide to go to retreat? So with your 20s, you were a famous model in France. That is the dream of so many girls and women. And
Yes.
why you suddenly decide, I'm going to a mountain retreat alone?
Well, first of all, I must tell you, it's a dream for many girls, but I saw very clearly this was no dream. In that sense of something you wish for. Because I saw what they were doing with all these women,
Yes.
And they were not doing it to me and to a few other women, because we were not easy to gamble with, I used to say that. I'm abused when I want to, when I agree to, I am. It happened to me a few times because I agreed, but at that moment I was not agreeing with that thing, And so they were using the girls for things, and this was not something that I really desired for my life. And then another thing is that I saw at that time a lot of famous people, lots. And I'm very sorry to say that most of what I saw, I did not wish to take that path and to become like that. I wanted to become like Milarepa.
That's awesome.
I don't say I have the guts to do that. I don't think I do. But in my heart, I aspired for people like Milarepa, people like Yeshit Sogyal, people like Machik Ladron. And this was really my Walt Disney World, Great. Even Jesus somehow. Jesus also. When I was a kid, I liked Jesus. I thought Jesus was so great. But then all the other things around were so strange for me. People, even that they put him on a cross, all of that was so strange. So I did not feel that this thing that a lot of women wish for. was something that was my need, and neither was that my path, but it was a destiny. That, yes, it was a destiny. In that sense, the karma, karma happened,
Yes.
and it was very important for me somehow, it's part of something I must have responsibility for it. Yeah.
Very inspiring. That's really genuinely inspiring. Well, and why Buddhism, Miriam? Why Buddhism? How does it started in your life? Why Buddhism?
It's very simple answer. This is very simple. When I was very young, I had the certainty. I was looking for something I forgot. I knew I was craving. It's probably the basic craving, this craving we have for something better. But when I was young, it was the craving for something better, but it was not something that does not exist. It was something that was there. And actually, when I used to dance, I used to feel close to that. It's like a state, a being, a way of feeling alive. It's nothing mysterious, but it's nothing you can explain. And so this was very clear, and that's why I was dancing. But when I started to meet people, I come from a Jewish family, but actually it's a mix of people, Jewish and gypsies and aristocrat from France and Catholic. So at the end, my mother was only against all religions. At that, in the 60s, a lot of women really turned back against the rules. And but she did not. She always allowed me to have a spiritual insight. So like she would tell me, "Oh, pray for me too," or "Can you go and pray for me?"
Yes.
I would, "Okay, Mom, I go to pray for you." And I liked really Jesus. And then they said, "Love, everybody should love each other." I said, "But well, yes, I do. But then I do, but I have this problem, and then I have this problem, and then I have this problem. What to do?" And as time goes by, I'm 8, 9, 10, all these questions, like to tell you at around 5 years old, I asked my mother, people die all the time? Each second, yes. They are born each second, yes. So I remember, I look at her like this, I remember this feeling at that moment. It's like a feeling, like you have the feeling you found something. I said, "Mom, they're always the same."
Yes.
So I had this feeling it was always the same people turning around, And then how can I do that to be in a place where I love everybody, but that's what I really do. That's not just what I feel. And I couldn't, because every day, and that's when I get 10 and 9, and every day I do things that are not right, or I say things that are not right, and I feel it. I go to my bed. I'm a child. Nobody knows that. I go to my bed, say, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to say that. This is not what I want. This is not what I want. How can I do it? And I could not, because next day you get up and then you get into this habitual tendency. The habitual tendency. And so Buddhism was suddenly exactly what I needed. I didn't need to believe in things. I needed to work on myself. And that's it.
Definitely.
Then there's also love. You fall in love with somebody, not somebody else. I fall in love with Buddhism.
And tell us a bit more about that. When you felt in love with Buddhism, did you met any particular teacher? You begin to study with that teacher? You felt inspired by some kind of particular teaching or teacher?
Yes, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche was definitively the link, but I did not understand at that time that I should go and see him. But actually, that's my link. I had this feeling that the master that would appear would be that what Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche was talking about. So I was in India when I was 18 years old, because I had my father had it's going to seem strange, but my father had like 26 children with different women. So I have a Greek sister. My Greek sister was living in Bodhnat. She was painter, daughter of a painter. My father was a sculptor, so a lot of ladies who had children were also artists. And she was learning Tanka painting. And I decided to go to India because I wanted to find the place where Chogyam Trungpa was talking about. I was not thinking about him being in the United States. Then when I got there, I got to the monastery in Bodhnat, which was a monastery linked to Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, the Chechen
monastery.
It did not exist yet.
Okay.
Later on. So I wanted to see him, and actually he was in France.
In France?
He was in France.
And you were in India?
I was in his place and he was in France. And so later when I came to France, I actually ended up in the same monastery where he was at that moment.
And then you met Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche?
I met Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche much later.
Okay.
First, I studied with Lama Khyentse Chökyi Dorje. I lived in really full retreat. So I had 1 year retreat, fully practicing all the nyandro, all the prostrations.
Yes,
all of it.
the nandro. So you did the complete nandro. You complete your nandro.
Yeah, the complete nyandro and the yidam. And then I lived also in this, we used to live in community. So in this case, the daily life is very much part of it. And I met Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche not very long after. First, there was a lot of Rinpoche passing by the house, so I met a lot of Rinpoche, but Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche was the master that most impacted me of all of them. And it's a very strong moment because we were waiting for him at the airport in Paris. A lot of people waiting for him. You know, there's a little bit of this mundane thing, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. And we were in that mundane thing waiting for Rinpoche, but then, you know, it's late and it's getting later because the airplane is late. So we actually get distracted.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's like 3 hours you're waiting. So we start talking about this, talking about that. And suddenly nobody told me he was arriving. And suddenly he came. And he was in a rolling chair like that. And he arrived in Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche was huge, you know? And he usually was naked, like half, you know? So actually I saw him, but I don't know, I saw him golden. But I didn't know it was him because I saw him before I knew he was coming. So I had a shock, you know?
Yeah.
This happened to me with Karmapa also, the young Karmapa.
Oh, with the 17 Karmapa.
Yeah, the same thing happened. It was strange because I don't go like that, that I'm going to faint just because everybody talks about, you know? Yes. But there I really had this, it's very strong because he's never gone.
Yes.
This is something, people like that, you know?
Yes.
All of your friends and family, they're never gone, but it's because you practiced with them a lot of things. But this person, you saw him only 1 second and he's never gone. You know? Yes. And
you were blessed, very blessed.
Very, very strong. And it was like, I had this feeling, you know, the witch, the beloved witch, when she does like this and everybody stops. I saw it when I was a kid. No? Everything stops, they freeze. I remember, but you know, I don't know if it's true. I remember everybody freezed. The airport freezed, you know, and Rinpoche came and the airport stopped. Like if everybody was in the same kind of
frequency.
Yes, it was, I don't know. It looked like that, you know, like suddenly we're somewhere else. And then he arrived and that was the first time.
Wonderful.
But then, you know, actually I did see very many times Digo Khyentse Rinpoche, because he was there several days and several times. And I did study with a lot of Rinpoche, but it's true that my focus was much more on the practice than on going to see different
Yes.
places and people. So I actually focused much more on studying
Mm.
and on practicing at that time.
And then you decided to go to the mountain and do retreats alone.
At that time, I didn't really decide. Somebody told me, "Do you want?" And I said yes, because I told you, Sonia, I was naive.
Yes.
I thought the first day I entered retreat, I would have enlightenment 5 minutes after. I was very naive. I thought there was a magic button. What I found out is that after a few days, your house in the mountain becomes the same as what you had before. And the practice is what makes the whole thing unroll. And as it's unrolling, your memories started to go out, like if it's like if your brain needed food, so it's going to go and reach everything you forgot. Everything, even the person you don't remember, the name you don't remember, the thing you did 15 years ago at the 15th of January at 3 o'clock, and you went in this house, in this street, you remember the whole thing, and the dreams, and it's so intense, but you practice, because if you don't practice, you're not going to crazy.
Yes.
I would get crazy. And then something starts to change, and in my case was 9 months.
9 months, okay.
And actually, Lama Kunzang Tukidorji told me it would be 9 months when it started to be interested, and that actually really did happen. I was there for, we didn't know how long I would stay. You know? This was my first retreat, then I did many others, but this
was your first retreat.
Yeah, it was very important. It was like reset.
And you were there alone in a mountain?
Completely alone, but the monastery used to bring me food to a particular tree. I know at that tree I had food, and I would leave the things clean. I used to go and get water. I had no electricity, no water. I had to go and get the water at the spring, and the electricity was candles. Huh? And I didn't heat either the place, so I really had like under zero and freezing like that. But it was okay. I was young anyway, you know. I was doing frustration. But this is very interesting. This thing is that when it starts to reset, this is what's very interesting, is that it starts, the practice starts to give you a place where you are really there and not anymore in past and future, especially if you don't know when you get out.
Yes.
Because you cannot project, I'm going to do this or that. So the first stage was more like knowing myself, understanding how much I'm not able to concentrate. It's very strange. A classical dancer should concentrate. I do concentrate, but it's not concentrating on your mind, and it's not knowing about yourself. So I started to discover that I couldn't do frustrations without thinking about something else. And I thought, what the hell is this? I do frustrations, and after 6, I'm thinking about something else. No. So after 9 months, it started to cool down, this past future thing. And the practice started to be really, really practicing.
Yes.
And so that's wonderful, because it's incredible. You don't need anything. It's incredible. You need, maybe I needed a little bit of food. Yes. Water. Yes, I did. I was not able to not eat. I didn't have that city. But not much, you know. With that little thing that they give me food and I can get water, I was happy. I was never that happy in my life than that moment.
Yes. Yes, that really reminds me, you know, our friend Liz, she said exactly the same. She was never so happy like in that moment when she was in retreats. That's inspiring.
Another thing I remember that was, because there's a lot of things I don't want to talk about, because I think we need to keep secret things.
Definitely.
this one is not, this is very nice. I was saying the four wishes: may all beings be happy and reach the causes of happiness. May
Happiness.
they be free, from suffering.
And its causes,
Also the freedom from all the causes of suffering, and may they enjoy the ultimate joy that comes out of this attitude, and then may they remain in equanimity, free from, I'm translating, I used to say it in Tibetan.
The four immensurables, yes.
And free from, for people who don't know it, and may they also remain in equanimity.
Equanimity.
From the duality. Duality is everything, but specifically like the duality of liking and craving to people you love or things you love, and rejecting and hating all the people and the things you don't love. And so reaching this equanimity, and you say it 100,000 times. So and I was usually practicing in the forest. But I found that spot near my cabin, there was nobody. And very often I actually even had no clothes on. Yeah, because when it was hot, I didn't see the use of having clothes. It's not, it's not that easy to wash clothes when you live like that. So actually no clothes was better. And one day I was doing it again. And as usual, you're concentrated, you believe in that thing, but actually you're just repeating something they told you to say, And then I don't know what happened, but suddenly it was true. Maybe after 4 months doing that, because 100,000 is a lot.
Yes.
And suddenly that day it became true. I was not wishing for that. I was like that at that moment. And this is at a moment you feel really that everything that is alive, everything that has been happening, that will happen, that ever can exist in your perceptions and out of your perception, who knows, is part of yourself.
Yes.
It's not something else. The ants, the flies, the snake. I was in a forest, there was only animals, there was no people. But actually these nasty people also. Trump is also, all beings that you love. So there's not any enemy, and there's not somebody to hang on to. And suddenly I was crying. But it's not emotion. It's not because you're sad or happy. It's because it touched something so authentic and true that, like, how is it possible that that's the truth and I don't know it? Or maybe I know it in the fairy tale. I like it in the fairy tale, but it's not what I'm living all day long. So that was very important. That's why 100,000 is good,
When 100,000 is good.
It's at least a little bit of starting. Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome. Amazing experience. And I can imagine how can be like a woman alone in a mountain with all the, wild animals and dealing with all these things is, wow, really challenging. You must have been shaken by that.
Well, in my case, I was happy because for me, the real jungle was Paris and the streets. Where I knew the jungle, the bad things.
Yeah. The real jungle was like great, the big cities and mundane life.
The human being is difficult for me, and the human being is where I was more afraid.
You were afraid of human beings, not demons and wild animals in the mountains, in the forest, in the jungle.
I don't know. Maybe I am, but I didn't meet any monster.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So can you please describe us, what is Buddhism for you in 3 words? Can you describe?
It's to know about suffering. It's very important. And then to understand how much it's related to an habit of making it happen, this suffering.
Yes.
Of believing in division. So that would be the second.
Very
And the third is to enter the simplicity of being. But these three, it's the whole life, you know. It's like understanding suffering.
Yes.
Is like, we say compassion, but compassion is not a good word, because com means with, and passion means suffering. And the idea is not that you suffer with people.
Yes.
The idea is that you know the suffering. And so you know that no being at all wants to suffer, because you yourself you have such a hard time with suffering, all kinds of suffering. Then all the sufferings, there are so many. Even a little suffering can be much worse than a big one.
Yes.
And so this is what makes you understand that others also. So I think this part is very important, because otherwise the knowledge that you start to acquire by knowing yourself could make you, and it does happen, no, become very, how you say that in English, thinking you're better than others, you know.
Arrogant.
Yeah, arrogant or proud. Why not? It's very possible, no?
Yes.
Specifically that you can have a little bit of experiences that looks like superior to the experiences normal people have. You could believe in that. So the compassion is really important. And that's what I feel that in Buddhism, it's really important. So that when the wisdom starts to sometimes give a glimpse, glimpse by a poetry, or the glimpse by a mantra, or whatever, dream, you never forget this bodhicitta is in the wound where you bleed.
Yes.
Where it hurts.
The wand, yes.
The
Wand, yes, yes.
And then it can also always help you to come back to the simple, yeah.
Simplicity.
So you wanted only three things, but I gave you 3 topics.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And why dance in your life, Yumma? Why dance?
The dance came. The dance came when I was very young, because actually I wanted to be a dancer as soon as I saw a dancer. And my mother was okay with that. She actually agreed. So that was very nice, because she always let me dance. And you know, children do things that are very intelligent when they move. People should look into a little bit more what the children are doing when they move. And I used to whirl a lot. I was a very good spinner. So I used to spin a lot. I was always good at spinning. I would always go even down 6 floors of my house spinning.
Oh.
And when you do the spinning, there's a trance. I used to call it translucid. So
translucid.
Trance that you're not completely, you didn't lose completely your physical presence, but actually you're not in the same state as you are usually when you're not spinning, when you're not turning. Especially if you don't use reference points. So this is technical, but if you spin and you look at something and you always look at it and you know where you go, using an external visual spot to give the direction. But when you're not, when you're spinning from the center, the canal, you have to get into this central canal. And so when I was dancing, as I told you, I was always in bliss. And so the real difficult thing was that how come this happens when I dance and it's not happening when I don't dance? So it's true that my whole life always tended to understand how this dance would become the whole of my life instead of being only a gesture.
Yes.
And actually the gesture is what we do all the time when we are in a physical body. So whatever you do, your heart beats and you breathe. So gesture is all the time happening. And this is what I discovered. So later I discovered habitual tendency is actually programmed in the gestures. What I work on
That's really interesting. Habitual tendencies are in the gesture, are always present in the gestures.
Yes, because that's where they find the memory. Habit. It's like, like when you fold a paper, and then when you want to unfold it, it comes back. So that's what we do with everything, because everything we learned since we're a child, we learned it with a habit. So of course you have your genuine original karma, but then a lot of building comes from how physically you're using your body, how your body is useful for your practice, or the opposite, how your body is useful to create suffering without wanting to, but that's what usually we do.
Very interesting. And emotions and dance, can you talk us a bit about that? Emotions and dance?
Yes, so first it was my own, because I'm I'm a little bit excessive person. No, now I'm better, because I'm old. But but when I was young, I was terribly fire-like,
Yes.
You would tell me, my mother told me, get out of the house. I did. I never came back.
Yes.
Even she was surprised. So this is, I was like that. And so when you have this kind of character, on one hand, it's nice because you do things, you live things.
Yes,
You
yes.
not live in half. But on another hand, you burn yourself very much, and then you create a lot of problems all the time because I'm sorry. So first I had to work on my emotion, and this happened. It's strange because it did not happen thanks to my practice of Dharma. It happens thanks to making Dharma with dance. And this, I can say, is really thanks to Lama Grzon Trikidot. Because first he told me not to dance. So actually I was forbidden to dance. Well, first he told me to dance and looked at me and then said, don't dance. And so I didn't accept when I disobeyed, because I'm like that. I obey when I want to, but if I suddenly don't want to, I disobey. So I disobeyed a few times. Alone in my room, who cares?
Yeah.
Then one day he came I was in a retreat in another place, and he came and I just ended up dancing, but I didn't tell him. And then he said, something is weird here. And so I didn't do it anymore. And then one day, suddenly, not very long, a few years after, he told me, we're having this feast. We're going to make a feast. What are you going to dance? I said, what am I going to dance? You're kidding me. Oh, okay. I was like a little bit stupid. I went after him because I forgot, and I said, at that time, I didn't understand you can dance without music. For me, I was raised in a Russian dance school. It's a very classical thing. They're very, very nice person, wonderful school, wonderful woman. She was, when I was in Dakini, she was my first Dakini, but they're like this, and so dance without music, what is that? No. So I said, Lama, I want the music, please. No. Because actually I was supposed to dance in front of people. It was years I was not dancing. It's a very great challenge, because usually a dancer dances something. But if you didn't dance, you're not dancing anything, because you don't have any more. The body is not anymore. Dance is a very difficult thing to do. You cannot quit a few days and then get it. Maybe you can a few days, I'm exaggerating, but a few years you cannot.
Yeah.
And he gave me a Sufi music, which was
Sufi.
also, it was genius to give me a Sufi. I didn't know anything about Sufi. And actually this music is a music I really still adore. And I danced on that music without knowing what to do. I just danced. I didn't know what to do because it was not classical, not Kurdish, not Turkish, but I did have knowledge of a lot of dances. But I didn't have knowledge of creating the dance, especially specifically, this was a spiritual dance somehow, no? A spiritual dance, in my point of view, is not that you do like this and you do like that, because this is more like trying to show how spiritual you are. A spiritual dance is more like making the manifestation of your dance as an experience of meditation. And so then he told me after that, I danced. Then he 3 minutes, 5, 4, something, nothing special. He said, it's very good, it's great. You have a gift, so now you dance every day. So I have to dance in my retreats.
Every day.
Alone, no music. And this is how it started. And then later, the emotional part was first, I created a show that was like I was dancing different, it was a story of a woman, but actually I was dancing my own emotions. It was a little bit my own story, but in a fairy tale. I saw the dances because I always do the dances on the spot. I don't do a choreographic. So each time I dance is different. It's never exactly the same. Even nowadays, never. There's no choreographic. It's composition on the spot. No? You're doing the choreographic on the spot, and then next time you do one, but they can start to have a little bit of the same structure.
Yeah.
And I saw my dances because somebody filmed, or I filmed myself, and I thought, wow, this is it. This is there, because I used to think I used to think my dance were very bad. And then I looked and I said, this is it. Like, this is it. And I understood things about myself that I did not understand with the practice. I started to understand how aggressive I was. I thought I was so nice. I started to understand how much I used to make myself feel dramatic, even when it was not needed. So all this came from the experience of these dances.
With the dance.
Yeah, and later, as usually most of the people who wanted to study with me were ladies, I started to really be working only with women, almost like 99% women. And I started to understand how important it was to link the dance, the emotions, to the wisdom and to the dakini.
Yes. And well, about sexuality and dance?
You cannot help it. You have a sex, you know. Well,
definitely.
Anyway, an artist is somebody who actually uses his body to manifest something that in the same time is a manifestation of his time, his space-time.
Yes.
So it comes through that person and it becomes something, but he's also creating somehow the symbolism of next. So it's a transmission, but each artist is unique because it comes from the life of that person is unique, you know, like each is unique, each painter is unique. And when you dance, actually physically, if you dance as a woman, and if you dance with movements that are quite familiar to women all over the world, you know, like using the inner parts of the flexibility of the hips and the flexibility of the chest. And I got interested in this masculine, feminine thing because I said I'm karateka. I used to do karateka, but also I thought very interesting to study this one thing and the other thing, and find how my mind changes. And to find the woman in the man and the man in the woman as I dance. I thought it was very interesting because actually it's in the spine. And the base of the spine is the center where you make babies. So you have, well, if you're a woman, of course, now you have the clitoris, it's like a little penis, no? And your vagina is a little bit like a path to the channel. And your how you say in English? How you say the matrix, the uterus.
Uterus, womb, the uterus, yes.
Oh, excuse me, yeah, the womb. The womb is actually a muscle.
Yeah.
So when you dance with really the movements, you start to understand that if you don't use these muscles, you cannot do
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Cannot do it. But when you use the muscle, it tickles your sexuality. And when it tickles your sexuality, you have basically two options, no?
Mm.
Either you just go and have sex with whatever it is, even a tree, or because you're crazy excited, no?
Mm.
Either you learn to work with that and to
Yes.
make it become, it's like in Qigong, they take
Yes.
the energy, the sexual energy, and they bring it
Yes.
to the spiritual energy. So I
Mm.
started to do that. I started to do that a little bit intuitively.
In the dance.
Yes, because I used to, of course, I used to, since the beginning, be very inspired by Padmasambhava and the woman.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
A little bit worried about this woman-man things, no?
Yes.
But my practice was more like practice, no? But then I started to feel that as I was dancing and I was performing all this, and I was quite nice looking, so men are always after me, you know, at that time. So I also had to deal with that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I would become a little bit aggressive because I don't, you know, I told you I don't do it.
Yes, yes.
Not because you're my boss, I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I won't. And you just if you don't want me anymore to work for you, I'm gone. Bye bye. I'm not going to do as you want me to.
Yes.
So because I had this character, so this is why
Mm-hmm.
I never felt abused, because as I told you, I felt each time I was accepting it. So I took responsibility for my abuses.
And and you were like aware that something was there that was abusing you, but you were aware of that, right?
No, I was not directly aware. I became
Directly,
aware
yeah.
of the fact that I agreed with it. I
Mm.
discovered that I was doing it too.
Ah, okay, yeah.
But I'm not saying this is always the case, but in my case, I
Mm-hmm.
discovered by the time that a lot of things that happened to me with man were because of myself,
Mm-hmm.
in my case. No?
Mm.
But anyway, when you have this excitation, it's like a fire. And if you start to understand that all these emotions are energy, and that the sexual energy is actually the energy of the procreation. When you're an artist, you need it.
Yes.
You need to make, it's like making babies, but it's not a baby. It's maybe it's a show, it's a performance, but it's like making it. You need that.
Yes.
Energy.
Yes.
You can't avoid your womb.
Yeah, it's the creative energy.
Specifically if you're dancing.
Yes.
So I really had to understand that, and it became very interesting because I started to feel satisfaction inside of the desired self. And so I started to feel that actually I was feeling great without asking for anybody to satisfy me, nor necessary to masturbate, nothing. It's like the dance itself becomes the whole of the experience, and the whole of the experience becomes something that is all of your senses, because when you dance, you're not separated from space. So there's something like this is why probably Japanese are always dancers, because why do they always say they're dancers, no? And why don't people dance more about their spirituality? Because why they always say magic dance, and when enlightened, it's the dance of the phenomena. Why don't they say it's the, I don't know, the football of the phenomena?
Yes.
Yeah, they say the dance of the phenomena. They don't say the painting or the sculpture. They say the dance. And when they say dance, it's because actually dance itself, if it is really used as a with, of course, good instructions and good master helping, it is in itself a sadhana.
A practice. It's a practice, indeed.
And in my case, it was very important to understand the sexual
aspect.
Dilemma, the sexual dilemma of human beings, and the sexual war between man and woman, because I saw my mother being beaten by her husband all my youth. So I really needed to understand what is that aggression. You know, when I'm talking to you, even I'm not very emotive about it, but I feel it here. So I got used to feel where is it happening, your emotion. Actually, and you're in the stomach a little bit, you know, when I tell you this aggression between man and woman. Why? And then I started to understand that it was living inside of myself, you know, and that I really needed to love that man inside of myself that's angry.
Yes.
He was angry inside of me. But I could not, nobody could tell me that. It could only come to me by the process.
And through the experience of dance also, right?
Of art.
That's wonderful. And how did you integrate dance and Dharma practice in your daily life, Yumma?
Well, I had this, you know, this Chogyam Trungpa thing. I read Chogyam Trungpa like crazy all my life, like 30 times one book, several languages. So I would read the same book in all the languages. But I had 3 times a very important book. They were all important, but 3 of them were like, how do you say?
Crucial.
Crucial, you know, they change you. So the first I told you, cutting through
spiritual materialism,
which is very important, because spiritual materialism is also spiritual culture. Culture is the same process.
Yes.
And then the second book was Shambhala. And Shambhala, the warrior path. So that was very funny, because the first time I read Shambhala, I thought, oh, this book is so simple. This is nothing special. This is for, you know, this is for people who don't do the Dharma thing. I thought like that. I really did. Oh, okay. Come on, give me a break.
Well,
and then later I had tuberculosis.
Yes, tuberculosis, yeah.
I was in the hospital vomiting blood nonstop, you know, every drop of blood, because I looked so great, but I was really sick, you know, nobody believed I was sick. Even the doctors didn't believe me. And then suddenly they blood, you know. Then I was in that hospital. In that hospital, it was poor in Porto. It's Joaquim Urbano.
Yes.
But very poor hospital. And but it was very good experience. But I got so afraid. And I didn't understand I was afraid until I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, I can't walk because of medicine. And then, no, you can't walk because you're afraid. Because I saw the other person getting afraid of death. I saw how they started to lose their mind because of fear.
Yeah.
Because everybody would say, oh, no, you're going to be okay. She was not okay. She was going to die. Nobody would talk to her. Nobody would say, please, let me hold your hand. And if you're going to die, I'm here with you. No, they were saying, you'll get better. We bring you a chocolate tomorrow. You know, so she got so afraid that she got crazy. She couldn't even think anymore. And I started to understand that I was the same afraid too. Yes. And I got it to touch that fear. And a very good friend of mine, he's Paulo Cayus, he's the director of Roland Music. He wrote to me, like, lady, somebody like you cannot let herself go down. I had this book, the Shambhala Path of the Warrior. First, I read that letter and said, well, what the hell? Instead of giving me a nice or poor girl, he tells me you cannot let yourself, okay. Yeah. And then the second is the book. And I take the book and suddenly the book makes so much sense. Because I was in Shambhala, I was in the world, you know. My Dharma was not anymore in I don't know, in the mountain, in the retreat,
Yes.
such a romantic dream. No, it was here in that place where women are dying and they cannot breathe. They have sida and things like that, every day. And so suddenly I read the Shambhala and then I get it, this is it. This is what I need. I need to understand that I was born in a world that's maybe not perfect, but that's what I am. That's what I came for.
Yes.
I came for this place. You cannot be born in a place that is not the place you should be into. Like the mushroom only comes in that place specific.
In that environment, yes.
And so I suddenly thought, you had it all wrong. You had it all wrong. You cannot want to change the world. You cannot ask for the world to be something different because you're such a nice girl and everybody's so bad. No, you're here because this is what you are.
Yes.
And Shambhala was really nice. And the third book was Dharma Art. So Dharma Art is another adventure, brain operated. And I was seeing double. Because my two eyes took some time to, so for a few months, double, like your face dry.
Yeah,
I would see one like that and the other like that.
Yes.
This is where you understand relativity. Because if you close one eye, you catch the glass, and the glass is here, and then you close the other eyes, you catch the glass, and he's here.
Yes.
You catch it the same.
Yes.
In the same place. Okay. And so I was in Spain and I was seeing double and I was looking for Shambhala to offer to a friend, and in the book there was no Shambhala. And I see Dharma Art in Spanish. Because it takes time to come from the United States to.
Yeah.
And then I said, I was trying to write about Dança Doente. I was going to create Dança Doente and I was trying to, I was not able to explain. And then I read Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche saying what Dharma Art is, like avoiding the aggression, the aggression towards yourself, which is to convince yourself you must become something different and better, and the aggression against other is to try to trick them and make them believe.
Yes.
And then suddenly I said, this is it again.
Yes, this is it again.
So I went to the United States to meet Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. He was gone, but I went to it. I actually met him there, even though he was gone. So this is how Dharma Art came. And then my practice nowadays is that slowly I started to understand that practice has to be all the time, and that the way to really remind myself, not forget it, was to create a memory inside of my body. So the body always calls me back.
The body always calls your mind.
Calls me back, yeah.
Calls you back. Yes, we definitely, body is very important. And this is something that is important to bring up, because sometimes it's always talking about mind, but body is very, very important to realize some aspects of the mind.
It's like it's the instrument you have.
Yeah, it's the vehicle. Yeah.
You need to use it. So first it has to be cleansed. Cleansed specifically of the habitual tendencies.
Yes.
And then it has to be, the body has to be willing to make you come back.
Willing to make you come back.
Come back to being present, What do I mean by that? How can I explain it? It's not that you're coming back to something specific. It's just that your body brings you back from distraction.
Yes.
This is what I mean. So it brings you back, like I can talk to you, and in the same time I can feel my cushion under my butt. So that a part of me is not going everywhere in the same time.
Yes.
And then slow this gives a certain stability to the mind itself. That is needed. And then after, of course, on the base of that stability, maybe your body is not needed at that moment so much.
Yeah.
But in daily life it is, because in daily life we get very easily distracted.
Yes. And with working with emotions, with working directly with your body, with dance, with the movement, with the space element, what is Dança Duende? How does it started? What is Dança Duende?
Dança Duende is a network. And then the network, excuse me, is based on a training. The training is very wide trainings, because when I created Dança Duende, I did not specifically choose to invite people to become Buddhist. Because I really believed in the Dharma art of Trungpa Rinpoche.
Sure.
The Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche, which was that through Dharma art, people in the future would find path to the Dharma, even if it's not called Dharma.
Yes.
I'm not saying that, it's very important I say it here, because I really, really, I'm so grateful to great masters and people, like specifically Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche, for example, that's really working so hard to preserve the text and the sutras, and at the same time he's so contemporary. For me, he's really doing something extraordinary, but I was not able to do that, so I had to adapt to myself, and I wanted to work with all kinds of women, even if they're not, even if they're I don't know, other religions, Jewish or no religion at all, and make them discover by themselves their own need for generosity, their own need for patience, their own need for perseverance, all the paramita. They find it. They find it. They find it in art, and also how you relate to yourself and to others. So the whole training is based on 3 topics: is freedom, discipline, rigor, I call it, and virtue. So I can
freedom, discipline, and virtue.
Virtue. So it's too complex to explain now, but it's like when you're working on freedom, you always have the 2 others.
Yes.
And then when
The discipline and the virtue, yes.
And when you're on the rigor, you have to have the freedom in your mind as you're working on discipline. Otherwise, your habitual tendency will be too stiff.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I understand. Let me just put the light on because it's getting very dark here. I don't know if you have any light there.
I'm having the light of the sky still.
Oh, really? Just a second then. Oh.
Okay, so I do it too.
Yeah, better, because it's really getting very dark here. Oh, thank you. All right. Yeah, now it's much better.
Okay. So.
Yeah, better.
So there are certain situations with your body and your mind in the space and with several people or alone that opens your experience to freedom. And freedom is not always the easiest, actually. People always say they want to be free, but it's not true. They really don't want to.
That's very true. They really don't want. Sometimes we really don't want.
What you usually discover is that, that actually you really need that discipline in order to take this freedom. Is that sense of no limits of space.
No limit, yes.
So it's there at the same time.
And so we can know more about Dança Duende in your website. And you also have in diverse languages, so everybody can access to your website and know more about the Dança Duende project.
Yes, it's just a little bit old, the website, but I think it's still working. I think it's still working.
Yes, it is. I've been there. Yes, it's working
So
perfectly.
See it. But actually, the explanation I'm writing it now, so it will come out probably in a few months. I'm getting up in the morning early to write it now, so it will probably come out in English.
Right. And Danza Duende and your experience about translucid dance and choreography and your book. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So this Danza Duende is very huge, and the definition of it is that if any kind of work has the definition of freedom, the definition of rigor, the definition of virtue, and always the three are working together, even if you show more one than the other, they could join the Danza Duende. So it makes it very vast. There's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of possibilities, but you cannot join the Danza Duende movement and network and training if it's not built like that. Then the translucid dance comes with my work with Raji, because actually we used to use that word, both of us. We used to say the trance is lucid.
Oh, the trance is lucid.
Yeah, and that because it's about your body mind, you know. If you look at sacred dances, there are usually two kinds of sacred dances. The trance, that can go until the moment that you completely lose your ordinary self and you get in touch with some message or something, or maybe you embody some kind of energy, or you bring a message. So this is one kind. And the other kind is the precision goes so far that actually you would also get in another kind of trance, like in the Bharatanatyam, for example. But even in the Bharatanatyam, you can get to parts that it's very close to the trance.
Very interesting.
And so for us, both of us separately, we thought it was really interesting that you push yourself to the limits of both of these, so that you find a place where your dance happens with a lot of precision, a lot of trance, and in the same time you're controlling, and at the same time you're not. So it's like a flow, like getting in the flow. And it's a little bit like when somebody is very good at talking, that person is always in the flow. No? Things come, but then it comes with a good language, with a good voice, with good attitude. The person knows how to do that. I think the Rinpoche is wonderful when he talks. Like, and everybody starts to smile. And it looks so simple, but actually it's great mastery. So in the dance, it's the same thing, but it's with all the possibilities of the body. And even I would say also of the voice, because you can sing also when you dance. So the translucid dance is more on this, focusing on this aspect, which is an aspect. Danza Duende is a little bit more like from beginners until somebody who is in a spiritual path or a professional artist. Translucid dance is really dance.
It's really dance.
Really dancers. Choreography is the dancer who sees dance as his whole life and as wisdom, the path of wisdom. So choreographer is really like the person who is dedicated to dance as you dedicate to the Dakini.
Okay. Wow. Powerful. That's wonderful. And how about your book, La Voix qui danse?
Yes. Yes. The Danza Duende network nowadays, a lot of people. So if people go for it, there's a lot of people who are teaching, who are dancing, or even doing also singing, actors. It's not the Danza Duende network is not only dancers. And the La Voix qui danse is the book that tells about my story.
Yes.
As this book was actually I was asked to write that book a very long time ago. I thought when it was published much later, I thought I'm going to make this book. It talks about me, but actually, what is the focus is that from my story, I want to go in direction to the story of Dança.
Mm.
The book talks more and more about the dance.
That's great.
French, La Voix qui danse. It has been published also in Italian.
Mm.
It's been translated to Portuguese in this moment in Brazil.
Mm.
And in French, it's published twice. So now the last edition is in Maelstrom in Belgium. And I will give you the name.
Okay, please. And we will put the link for your book. Everybody wants to buy Miriam's book. It's available, Yumma Mudra book. You can have the link and directly buy it and see it.
French, and the second edition is very beautiful because you have also pictures, a lot of pictures.
Wow.
And, so, but you need to speak French.
Yeah, and then it's not translated to English.
No, only Italian so far.
Only Italian so far. Okay. But I'm sure.
The Italian book, you tell me if you want the Italian book.
Okay. We will have the link from you, so it will definitely be easy to find it, and we put it here in the YouTube channel, and also we will put in your Sattvah personal web page, so people can go directly to the link and see your book. And finally,
my next book will be published by the same person who published Rocky Dance in French.
Same publisher. Very good. Okay, great. And to finish, because it's already 1 hour and a half, our talk, I would like to finish with one question to you and then a small request if possible. The question is Wild Women World. Please tell us more about this Wild Women World. I like it. I really like this.
How can I talk a little bit less?
Nah.
Well, so I tell you, it's because when I went to live to Serpa
in
2001, Serpa was supposed to be a place where they would create. I knew it by a friend. It was not of knowledge, public knowledge, but I knew it by an investor, actually. And Serpa was going to become a place where there would be a world music center. And the World Music Center was supposed to be a huge campus. This was a huge project with a lot of money. And it was supposed to be in an area of Europe that would be poor. And actually, Serpa got it.
Oh.
And I said, if they do that, I'm going there. So actually, I went there and I went to live in Sattvah. It was a crazy thing to do. I ended up there in the middle of, I was living in a farmer's house. He had a house. I said, can you put this house back so I can live there? And he said, okay. And so he put the house back for me. He rented it for me. And then I went to see the city hall. And then after a few months, the project just went down because the whole money disappeared.
Oh.
I don't know.
Oops.
I don't know the final world of this. I just know the whole thing just collapsed down. Yeah. And I'm at Serpa and the World Music Center is not going to happen. But I thought, well, maybe it can happen slowly. Actually, they did a little project meanwhile. And so I thought the best way to use Alentejo people, Alentejo is really the ground, it's like United States would be Texas. Use the people for all this music and dance from the whole world to come here. You have to work with the woman, because if you work with the woman, you work with the children. If you work with the children and the woman, the men, they just come after. It has to happen, because women are the basics of everything.
Yes.
The women are the basic of all societies. So if women move, the whole thing moves. And so I told the city hall, look, now I live in Serpa. I have no work. I have no money. So give me a job and I will do this, and that. And they did. They gave me the job. And the job was that I was doing everything I wanted to do. Nobody told me, and I did the job. And I said, the first thing I will do is a festival. And the festival is going to be called WWW. Like internet. It was the beginning of internet.
Yes.
In
Yes.
Portugal, it was the beginning of internet. So www is wild woman world,
Well,
because it would be like World Music Center.
yes.
WM, you see?
Yes,
I
yes,
thought
yes.
Wild Women's World, Women's Center, you see?
Yes, yes, yes.
And then I told them, and self, I told them, this festival is a festival about feminine energy and about women, but it's not for women.
Mm-hmm.
It's for man and children and for everybody. And so we did that festival, and it was really, really a very, very special experience. It was wonderful, very difficult.
Would be nice to do it again in different circumstances.
If I would have more help, yes.
Hmm.
I did it a
That's
little bit.
interesting.
Joanna d'Arc, you know Joanna d'Arc in France, that lady.
Yes,
War,
yes.
and she was burned at the end. I did a little bit like that, and now I would do it if more people would help me. Yes.
Yes. So it will be nice to repeat this, but in other circumstances and with a team that could help you on that.
Yes, of course, it's a very nice project. It was a wonderful project, and in that project, I made. Actually, I'm proud of myself because I forgot, but I saw it today. I saw old papers. I made a very nice thing that was the first time in Portugal, but maybe it was the first time actually in Europe. I made an interreligious woman meeting. So it were women that
That's
are
incredible.
actually teaching religions, only women. And so I had Tsering Padron.
Setting Paldrum, yes,
There
setting.
was a lady for Christianity. She was wonderful. She was an old lady, really nice. There was Muslim. There was lots of religions.
That's incredible. That's really something very inspiring. Maybe we can think of that in the near future. Let us see how things will unfold.
In 2003, we did that in Serpa. Serpa is in the
Yeah, I know. It's, yeah. But I'm sure many things can really unfold. Let us wait and see what we can. We never know. It's really inspiring. I was fascinated when I read, and we will also put maybe a link accessible with this thing so people can really realize the wonderful work you did. Congratulations, really. And thank you for sharing with me. Definitely.
Thank you very much. I
And
hope it was useful conversation.
it was very useful always, and useful, inspiring, and lovely to hear you, and always so like I don't know, full of joy and sensuality, just like you. I think this is so important. And I would like to request you something before we finish this small interview. If you could give us your few words about for women that want to practice in the future.
In the future? No, not in the future. Start now.
Start now, yes, absolutely. But what do you think women should do, consider, and realize to practice the Dharma in the near future, especially the young women?
I think most people, it's not really only women. I think if you really felt that you have a heart that is important, like, all these things that we know about in our dreams or in our nights, pray. And a lot of people used to pray when they were a child, and then they don't pray anymore. Or maybe they have a religion, but then they don't take it seriously. I think it's very important, the life of the beauty that lives inside of you.
Yes.
Very important. And for women particularly, maybe to assume her power as a person who gives life, even if you don't have children. And it's not because of your ego, it's because of the body you received. You received a body that is able to give life. So there is also a spiritual aspect to that, because all things of material has energy and has also mind. Even a stone has energy, and the stone has a meaning. There's a code. So the woman, first of all, we are all beings. We're not man and woman, but then we have a body, and that body is full of a kind of quality. And the woman, we
Yes.
have this quality of giving life.
Yes.
And we're human beings. Human beings are so powerful. We really need to help each other and to help the world, not to be destroyed by human ignorance.
That is
And
true.
so we have to take responsibility. And if you're young, it's better, because it's much better to do something when you're young than to wait that you're too old to do it. So don't wait, start now. If you have inspiration, if you have a heart, it's so important, because then nothing can ever destroy your diamond Bodhicitta, this diamond germ inside of you. Nothing can destroy it.
Wonderful.
You can live all sorts of things in your life, but the light in your heart is the most important. So that's what I would tell. I don't have an advice, because each person is different and each person needs different things.
Yes. So the main suggestion is, don't waste time. Start now.
Don't waste time. No, why would you? Maybe you're dead tomorrow.
Yeah, start now.
It's too late, because then who knows what you're going to dream in the battle.
And don't be afraid, maybe. Lose fear.
You can be afraid, but it's okay to be afraid. It's normal. The problem is to be afraid of fear.
Yes, don't be afraid of fear. Wonderful, wonderful. Yes. My dear, thank you so much. I really deeply appreciate for your kind time, your generosity in being here with us today. I feel deeply touched and moved, and hope you have a wonderful weekend and a good night. And thank you again so much for your time, my dear. And hope we can have more interviews in the future too.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night, my dear. Bye. Bye. Wait.